Welcome to In-Silico Trials Real Impact, the In-Silico UK podcast that's revolutionizing the way we think about medical innovation. I'm Professor Alejandro Frangi from the University of Manchester, and I'll be your guide through this fascinating world of In-Silico technologies. In each episode, we'll dive into cutting-edge research and groundbreaking news that are shaping the future of medical product development and regulation. From computational modeling to simulated clinical trials, we are exploring how digital approaches are transforming healthcare, making it safer, more efficient, more equitable, and incredibly precise. So, whether you're a researcher, regulator, a member of the public, or a patient representative, or simply curious about the future of medicine, tune in as we unravel the complex world of in-silico methods and their real-world impact. Get ready to discover how computer-simulated trials are leading to very real breakthroughs in patient care. In-Silico Trials Real Impact, where algorithms and data are saving lives. Let's begin.
All right, ready to dive in. Today we're tackling clinical trials. You know, those all-important tests for new medicines. We're going to dig into what makes them so pricey and how we can maybe make things a bit more efficient.
Right.
Now, you're probably thinking, clinical trials, expensive. No shocker there.
Yeah, that's usually the perception.
And you wouldn't be wrong, but there's more to it than meets the eye. It's a bit more complicated.
It is, really.
We've got research here from the British Medical Journal, insights from Globant and Anjou, and even a piece about patients dropping out of trials.
Oh, interesting.
And we're zeroing in on pivotal trials, the ones that prove a drug is safe and works, the ones the FDA needs to see.
The high-stakes ones.
Exactly.
And speaking of high stakes, the financial side of pharmaceutical innovation is kind of rough right now.
Oh, how so?
Deloitte's research shows that returns on investments are at a 13-year low, just 1.2% in 2022.
Wow, that's a pretty low number. So no wonder everyone's looking for ways to make clinical trials less expensive. More bang for their buck.
Absolutely. And PwC says healthcare costs overall are going to jump by 7% in 2024.
So finding ways to streamline these trials isn't just a nice to have. It's becoming a must-do.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so the BMJ study says the median cost per patient in a pivotal trial is a whopping $41,413.
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
Sometimes that's what pharma companies charge for just one dose of the drug once it's approved.
Makes you think.
So what's driving these costs up? I figured it was the number of people involved.
Well, yeah, that's part of it. Both the BMJ study and Globant point to two big cost drivers: the number of patients in the trial and how many times they have to go to the clinic. More patients, more visits, more resources, you get the idea.
More of everything equals more money. Makes sense. But then I looked at the BMJ findings and got kind of confused. Patient numbers in trials range from just 4 to over 8,000. And the number of visits range from 2 to 166. How can there be such a big difference?
Well, it really comes down to how the trials are designed. For example, if you're testing a drug for a condition that already has effective treatments, you need a way bigger trial to prove that your new drug is better.
So you need more data to show it's superior, not just that it works.
Exactly. You need to convince people to switch. And the type of treatment also matters. A complicated oncology drug that needs close monitoring is going to cost more per patient than a simple skin cream.
Makes sense. So the number of patients and how complex the treatment is, those are big factors.
Yeah, for sure.
But the Globant article also talked about 4 areas where we could cut costs, and some of them were surprising. They started with how the trials are designed.
The protocol, right?
Yeah, the protocol. And get this, 57% of trial protocols end up needing big changes, and almost half of those changes could have been avoided.
That's a lot of wasted time and money.
It is. It's like building a house and forgetting the plumbing.
Ouch.
There.
So, how do we prevent those expensive protocol overhauls? Well, planning ahead is key. And that's where things like AI and machine learning can really help. They can help design more solid protocols from the start, so less need for costly changes later.
So we use data to anticipate problems instead of reacting to them after the fact.
Exactly. Be proactive, not reactive.
I like it. So what's the next area where we can maybe trim the fat?
Finding the right patients. That's a big one.
Patient recruitment.
Yep. It's not just about finding anyone, it's about finding the right patients efficiently. Delays in recruitment can cost sponsors up to $8 million per day.
$8 million a day. I had no idea just finding people could be that expensive.
It's a big hidden cost, but thankfully there's real-world data, or RWD. It's changing things. We can use it to pinpoint areas with a higher concentration of people who might qualify for the trial.
So we use data to laser focus our efforts instead of just casting a wide net.
Exactly. We're also seeing cool new tech solutions, like chatbots that can pre-screen potential participants.
Oh, like those customer service bots you see on websites.
Kind of like that, yeah. And there are add-ons for electronic health records that can alert doctors about potential matches.
So leveraging tech to streamline the whole process.
Smart. Okay, so we've talked about protocol design and finding the right patients. What's the next area where we can potentially save some serious cash?
Keeping patients involved and engaged.
Patient retention.
Yeah, and this is where things get tricky. About 19% of patients end up dropping out of trials.
Oh, wow. So what happens then?
Well, that means wasted resources, and you have to find replacements. It's like training a new employee only to have them quit after a few weeks. Double the work.
That's a big setback. So how do we make these trials more engaging and reduce those costly dropouts?
It's all about putting the patient first. We need to design trials with their experience in mind. We're asking people to commit their time and energy to something that might not even directly benefit them.
Right, so we need to make it worth their while.
Exactly. Make it easy and rewarding. And that's where digital platforms can really shine.
Oh, imagine a platform where patients can easily access information about the trial, track their progress, and even connect with the researchers and other participants.
So more transparency and giving them a voice.
Right, making them feel like partners. Mobile apps can also make a huge difference. Think about an app that reminds you about appointments, helps track any side effects, and even provides info about your condition, like a personal trial assistant.
Yeah, that's a lot better than relying on paper forms and phone calls. All right, so we've covered protocol design, finding the right patients, and keeping them engaged. What's the final frontier for cutting costs in clinical trials?
It all boils down to data management.
Data management, not exactly the most exciting part of clinical trials.
True, it's not as glamorous as discovering a new drug, but it's a huge piece of the puzzle. And get this, up to 25% of a trial's budget can go towards making sure the data is accurate.
A quarter of the budget just for checking data. That's wild.
It is a major expense, and it's not just about the money. Think about all those brilliant data scientists who could be analyzing the data, but instead they're stuck checking spreadsheets and entries manually.
Talk about a waste of talent. So how do we fix this data management problem and free up those data scientists?
Well, there are some promising solutions out there. One of the most exciting is FHIR, which stands for Fast Healthcare Interoperability Resources.
FHIR. Okay, that sounds pretty technical. What is it exactly and how does it help?
Think of FHIR as a universal translator for healthcare data. It lets different systems talk to each other seamlessly, like electronic health records, lab databases, and trial management systems. No more manually transferring data or deciphering different formats. It's all about smooth and efficient information flow.
So instead of having data trapped in different places, we can connect everything and make information easily accessible. I see how that could save time and money.
Exactly. And APIs, or application programming interfaces, are the connectors that make this sharing possible. They're like bridges that allow systems to securely and efficiently exchange information.
Okay, so FHIR is the language, APIs are the bridges getting. But before we get too lost in the tech talk, I want to circle back to patient retention. We talked about how losing participants costs money and delays treatments.
Absolutely. The MD Group article pointed out how expensive it is to replace a patient who drops out. It costs about $6,533 to recruit one patient, but over $19,533 to replace them if they drop out. More than triple.
Wow, that's a huge difference. It really highlights how important it is to keep people engaged throughout the trial. But it's more than just money. Each dropout is a person who is hoping for a breakthrough.
You're right. We can't forget about the human side of things. That's why patient centricity is so crucial. It's not just about getting people to sign up. It's about making it a good experience for them.
So how do we make trials more patient-centric? You mentioned some tech solutions earlier.
Digital platforms can really make a difference. Imagine a platform where patients can access information about the trial, see updates on its progress, and even communicate with the research team.
That would make things more transparent and give patients a more active role in their healthcare.
Exactly. It's about partnership and shared decision-making. And e-consent can also be helpful. Instead of reading pages of legal jargon, imagine interactive videos or even virtual reality experiences that explain the trial.
That's definitely more engaging. What about the role of mobile apps in keeping patients involved?
Mobile apps can be incredibly helpful for keeping patients engaged. Think of an app that reminds you about appointments, lets you easily report any side effects, and even connects you with other participants for support.
That's like having a personalized clinical trial assistant. It seems like tech can revolutionize every part of clinical trials, from designing the protocol to managing the data to keeping patients engaged. It's pretty exciting. But are there any downsides we should be aware of?
Well, with any new technology, there are potential risks. Data privacy and security are super important, and we need to make sure these tools are accessible to everyone, no matter their tech skills, income, or language.
That's a really important point. We need to ensure everyone benefits from these advancements and that the digital divide doesn't make existing health inequalities worse. Digital equity is key.
Okay, so we've discussed protocol design, data management, and patient retention. What other areas of clinical trials are ripe for innovation?
Well, one area that often gets overlooked is choosing the right places to run the trials, the site selection process.
Oh, interesting. So it's not just about finding any doctor's office that'll participate.
It's more complicated than that. You have to think about things like their experience running trials, the types of patients they see, if they have the right equipment and resources. Even their location matters.
I see, yeah.
If you choose the wrong site, it can lead to delays in finding patients, problems with data quality, and even higher costs for things like travel and monitoring. It makes sense that choosing the right locations would be important. How do we make sure we're making the best choices?
Data can really help here. We can use data to find sites that have a good track record of running successful trials, sites with patients that match the trial's needs, and sites that have the infrastructure to support the trial.
So data can help us find the perfect match between the trial and the research site.
Exactly. And technology can also help us manage the sites once they're chosen. We can use online platforms to centralize communication, track progress, and monitor performance across all the different sites. This can help us identify any potential problems early on and manage things more efficiently.
It sounds like a more data-driven approach to site selection and management could really boost efficiency and cut costs.
Absolutely. Another area where technology is making a big impact is remote monitoring. Traditionally, trials have relied on people physically going to the sites to check on data quality and patient safety. But these visits are expensive, time-consuming, and can be disruptive for patients and staff.
Yeah, I can imagine all those visits could get a bit overwhelming for everyone involved, especially for patients dealing with health issues already.
Exactly. That's why remote monitoring is becoming more popular. We can use technology to collect and review data from afar, so we don't have to do as many on-site visits.
So instead of sending people to each location, we can keep track of things remotely. What kind of technology makes this possible?
Well, we can use secure online platforms to collect data directly from electronic health records, wearables, and even patient surveys. And we can use video calls and other online tools to stay in touch with site staff and patients.
So remote monitoring can save time and money and make the trial more convenient for everyone.
Exactly. Of course, we need to make sure we're doing it in a way that keeps data safe and protects patient privacy. But when done right, it's a powerful tool for improving efficiency and lowering costs.
It's amazing to see how technology is changing clinical trials. We've talked about so many cool innovations today, from using AI to design protocols to data-driven site selection to patient-focused tools. It feels like we're at a turning point in how we conduct these trials.
I agree, and the best part is that these changes can make trials more efficient and affordable, while also improving the experience for patients and speeding up the development of new treatments. It's a win-win for everyone.
It really is. It's an exciting time to be following these developments. So as we wrap up our deep dive, what's the most important thing you want listeners to take away?
I think the key message is that even though clinical trials are complex and expensive, we have a huge opportunity to make them more efficient, affordable, and patient-focused by embracing innovation and using technology.
Well said. We've covered a lot today: streamlining data management, optimizing site selection, improving patient engagement. It's clear that a more strategic and technology-driven approach can help us solve a lot of the problems that have traditionally made clinical trials so difficult.
Exactly, and the ultimate goal is to bring safe and effective treatments to patients quicker and cheaper.
I think we can all agree that's a goal worth striving for. And on that note, we'll leave you with this thought. What if by embracing innovation and putting patients first, we could not only reduce the cost of clinical trials, but also usher in a new era of faster and more equitable access to life-saving treatments? Something to think about as we navigate the ever-changing world of medical research and innovation. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.